Today's quick mom question is, how do I increase my milk supply? So there are several different ways, and the first one is of course just like nursing more often. Now you probably are already nursing, which is or pumping anyway, which is why you're already asking this question because you're like, okay, I'm not making enough or I'm not making as much as I want to. So just telling you to nurse more often may not be quite as helpful as some of these other suggestions here. So the next one is consider power pumping. Now if you're just like, what is power pumping? Power pumping is where you essentially are mimicking a cluster feed from your child. Now, if you're not producing enough, and obviously you're trying to produce more, your baby may not be cluster feeding or may just be really frustrated if you're not producing enough milk. So when you power pump, it's helping your body mimic that cluster feeding if your baby's not really cooperating and willing to do a cluster feeding on their own. So to power pump, what essentially you're going to do is you're going to pump for 20 minutes, you're going to take a 10-minute break, and then you're going to pump again for 10 minutes. And you can repeat this like as long as you want to go. Now, I will say from my own experience, this is really exhausting, but if you can include one power pumping session at least per day, you will most likely see an increase in your supply. Everyone's different, but I did notice an increase in my own supply after a couple of days of doing this. Now, if you have the time and the energy, because again, I know it's really exhausting pumping, then you can include as many power pumping sessions during the day you want. I don't think there's like a limit. Like it's really based off of your own body and how you personally are responding to power pumping. But like I said, it can take a rather long time to just be sit there like stuck to the pump. Now, outside of power pumping, if you're just like, yeah, I'm not interested in that, or maybe I want to do that, but I also want to do some other things to help, you definitely need to make sure that you're completely draining your entire breast of all breast milk. So if you're not already familiar with how to hand express, this can really greatly help produce more because the more you completely eliminate all of the milk from your breast, then it tells your body, hey, we need to make more to feed this baby. So if you have any left after the end of a feeding session or pumping session, then essentially that's giving the cue to your body like, oh, we don't need to produce quite as much. So that's why you want to drain your breast all the way to help your body know to produce more. Even though you may be pumping or if you're nursing, your baby probably does a really good job completely draining everything. But some babies don't have a really good latch or they're not really good nursers. So if you want to help your body know to make more, then hand expressing can really help make sure that you are getting everything completely removed to help your body know, okay, let's jumpstart this and make more. So that's another thing that I would really recommend. It does take some practice. So if you're trying it at first and you're just like, I don't even know that I'm doing it right, just like keep going. It takes a little bit of time to like understand what you need to do and feel more confident, making sure that you are able to hand express. So in addition to that, there's just like some typical like simple things to do, like making sure you're drinking plenty of water, right? Like your body needs water to be able to make fluid. So you need to make sure you're drinking enough fluid. Now, caffeine, for me, I'm a coffee lover. I love my coffee. I personally drink it all day pretty much. So if you're drinking a lot of coffee, that can actually be a dehydrator. You probably already know this, but just like watch or be careful of your caffeine intake and then make sure that you're also eating really good nutrition. It's a lot of work for your body to make breast milk. So if you aren't eating well and you're not giving your body enough calories, then you're going to see a drop in your supply because your body doesn't have enough nutrients to be able to make enough. Now, outside of the things already mentioned, another thing that I actually found and started doing with my second, I wish that I had known this with my first, is to actually when they nurse. So if you're not already nursing on both sides, that definitely can help as well. But when they nurse, to pump the other side, and this again kind of mimics that whole thing of like power pumping. If you're just like, I don't want to do power pumping, this is another way that can help your body like say, hey, we need to make more without adding on extra time. So while they're nursing from one side, pump from the other, and then switch sides and nurse and then pump. So because again, it's letting your body know, hey, we need to produce more, so it'll kickstart that option of making more. Now, if you are finding the pump really cumbersome while you're also nursing, because that would have been my case, depending on like the brand you have, at least the brand that I had, I was like, there's no way this is gonna work. Just no. Is to invest in a Haka or at least consider purchasing one. So this I use like an over the counter, not over the counter, but just like an off brand Haka, and it was amazing. And it definitely increased my milk supply because I was getting so much more while I was nursing on one side. And essentially, it's just like, to me, it felt like a more gentle pumping option because I was so over pumping by the time I had my second. So outside of all of those things, another thing that you can do, kind of going back to the whole like making sure you have a good enough nutrition to support your body making enough milk, is you can also try some supplements and certain nutritional items that are supposed to boost milk supply. So I personally found that oatmeal, like granola and granola bars and oatmeal and, however you want to consume it, really helped me personally. Some other moms also mentioned like fenugreek or brewer's yeast or even the pink drink from Starbucks. I have no idea what's in the pink drink, but I've heard a lot of moms like swear by it, that they're like, yes, this is exactly what I needed. Some sort of magical miracle cure, I guess. So if you are, though, going to take a supplement to help your body produce more, I would just recommend that you run it by your own personal doctor and make sure that it's safe for you and your unique needs. A few other things to mention here as well, especially if you are working or you're back to work and you're noticing a big decrease in your milk supply, is if you have to pump or well, I was going to say feed your baby, but the only way you would be able to feed your baby while you're not with your baby would be pumping. So if you're a working mom and you're pumping away from your baby, is to actually look at a picture of your baby or videos of your baby. This can actually help your body. There's like some sort of weird emotional like brain connection that tells your body, okay, hey, we need to, produce more. So if you are not working, another great way to kind of help your body do this more naturally, like if you're not just sitting like pumping and looking at your baby, if you're not nursing your baby, is to also increase skin to skin throughout the day. I guess is another, don't understand the science behind it, not a doctor, just a mom, but apparently that is supposed to help as well. And then of course, another thing that I couldn't see the correlation between this was resting. So apparently rest is supposed to increase your milk supply. I couldn't say that that occurred to me, but I will say some moms, when they go to bed, they notice that their milk supply is decreasing throughout the day. That is normal. But then when you go to bed and you wake up, you're engorged and it's like, oh my goodness, like I produce so much. Like what is about sleeping so much? It's not necessarily that you're sleeping. I think that increases your milk supply. It's just the fact that you're not nursing or draining your breast quite as often. And so it accumulates, and then that's why you feel engorged. So it's not necessarily that you're making more because you rested. At least this in my mind was my anecdotal experience. So kind of keep that in mind. But apparently resting is supposed to help. So if you're not getting enough rest, make sure you're taking care of yourself as well, because just nursing and feeding our babies through our bodies is a lot of work. So those are all the tips that I have, but now it's your turn. If you have some suggestions or anything that you have found that helped you, please drop them in the comments for the moms below. But also here we take questions from moms for moms. So if you have a quick mom question or kind of more of a lengthy question, because we also talk about some tough topics on here, the ones that you think about, but you don't really want to say to anybody else. So we have those conversations too. So I'll leave a link for you to submit those questions down below, where you can do so anonymously if you so choose for an upcoming episode, but hopefully we'll hang out again in the next one soon. All right, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything else here in my helpful notes to you. We talked about that. I think we talked about everything. Yes.